Hello everybody, welcome to Snow Talk. Brian Good here, and let me fix the camera for some reason. Always gets kind of weird looking, and could be me. Anyway, glad to be back on track for Snow Talk, although we're about to be back off track in the short term and somewhat near future. But alright, lots to discuss, so let's get right to it. Here's the snowboard. Today is on there. We'll talk about that. February 16th is on there, and that may actually be more of a range. It could be late the 14th anywhere through the 16th. And then after that, don't see anything showing up. And so we'll get two items to discuss, and then I'll discuss what I think may and should happen later in this month in just a second. First off, at the moment, quiet weather. We've had some moisture flying overhead, but a lot of, our dew points now, they're not overly low, but there's enough of a spread here that I doubt much, if anything's really reaching the ground so far. It's all part of this next little trough. It's digging in. This is that second wave. Remember that like a week ago? We were doing Snow Talk, and it was way south, and then it's been trending north. This is it. The models did great on picking up on the idea of one main low and then a second low. That's all I really can do, really, when it comes to long-term forecasting on these blogs, is I can only tell you the overall setup and the pattern, the players on the field, if you will. I just can't tell what the coach is going to do. So we always have to be on offense and not on defense. There's your sports talk here for today. But this is the same wave, way to the north. In the deeper cold air, it's going to be more of an issue for areas way to our north, and then eventually a bigger issue for the northeast. As far as any alerts that are out for this, winter weather advisories along and just north, really, of I-70 in Indiana. India itself is just not technically included in the actual city, but very close. And then you get into the winter storm warnings, where they're preparing for about a foot of snow, if not a little more, for the big cities in the northeast. So a big deal for that area, the way it's looking. Here is how Futurecast looks in our area with this setup. It'll initially begin for us, because we will warm things up enough to, we're talking about rain breaking out this afternoon, light showers. Even some, we get these little yellows and reds, or more the oranges and reds, I should say, in our southern counties right through here. Some of that could be actually some thunder. Wouldn't rule that out. Anyway, rain to start with, and then as we get colder, we get into a wet snow scenario that could accumulate on grassy areas. Now keep in mind, the models are really bad on the idea of, the warm ground, and there's rain ahead of it, so it's a wet ground. That in itself is tough for snow to accumulate. The exception is snowfall rate. If these are big flakes coming down, which they could be, it's going to be a wet snow. If these are big flakes coming down and coming down hard enough, it will accumulate. It doesn't matter what the ground temp is. It is going to begin to pile up in little spots. Now, it may, as soon as it eases, start to melt right off the bat. That's possible. But as far as it briefly accumulating on grassy areas, yeah, you can do that. So, best chance for that looks to be certainly in the northern counties and up the I-71 corridor. What we will have to watch. Now, I will say this. The wind will likely increase too with this. Hopefully that'll dry the roads out, because we will, as this moves out, have a few flurries, but we could set the stage for, if we clear it out, especially near sunrise, for temperatures in the mid-20s in some spots, and that could certainly allow for slick spots. So that is something we will have to watch for. The snow, not the big deal, but its impact could be a minor ordeal. Enough of that. Let's move on to, you already know what's coming this weekend. Thunderstorms, warm weather. Next week, here we are again with the models to the top. I don't have the Canadian operational to show, but here's the GFS and Euro, and then there's the Canadian ensemble there left. All right, so here is the cold air that is going to dip down early next week. And here is the low in question that is going to get cut off here and try to work its way across the southern part of the country. Interesting twist here today. Just look at the operational only. GFS is holding it back. It's a little slower with it into Oklahoma, say, coming up on Tuesday, Valentine's Day. Euro is already throwing it out into the plains. And when you look at the ensembles, overall, GFS is matching up with it, and the ensemble on the Euro has it matching up with the operational, so it moves it out. So at the moment, Euro's fast with the low, GFS is slower, Canadian is, doesn't really move it at all. Then as we head further into time, say next Wednesday, Thursday, you see what happens. It's already moved by us, the Euro does, and then it pulls down the cold air, and then the GFS suddenly is in the game of a strong surface low, which is a little odd to see that. That would look too far to the south. The ensemble's got it to the south as well, so it may be right on the south track, but I'm not sure on the intensity there. And then, of course, the Euro is matching that, and then, again, the Canadian never really rolls it out. Just leaves it down there in Texas. So, still some questions on this, guys. How this is going to play out for us, because when the low moves out, it's going to have some cold air to the north of it. How far north it goes to touch into that cold air and phase into the northern branch and become a more bigger deal for the eastern coast is still up in the air. I can't answer that question. Nobody can. All I can tell you, as I did last week with the current deal, just the players on the field. And the players on the field are a low pressure scooting across the south and cold air, a troughiness into the Ohio Valley. Is there going to be a phase or not? When you look at the Euro ensembles, I know it's hard to read all this. Kentucky, by the way, is right here on all of these on the eastern side of each square. There are a few right into here, right into here. That one's really far to the north. That one's got it. That one hints at it. That one certainly has it. And that one certainly has it. So there are several ensembles that hint at the idea that if they meet up just right, it could be a snow event. But that's all I can say now. Otherwise, well, everyone's going to start accusing me of wish casting, and I'm not going to get into that argument. Now, looking after that. You may have seen this from the CEFS. It's hard to read all this, but this is a model that can look at signal analysis to determine if severe weather, or at least a lot of convection, thunderstorms, can take place and the severity of them. And the signal analysis did really good with the one that came through last night in the deep south. Now it's indicating a significant potential again near the 20th. And when you look at it even more, here's where it's outlining the potential zones for severe thunderstorms near the 20th. And interestingly enough, when you look at the ensembles of the models, ignore the operational GFS here, but look at the ensembles. It is showing a low moving out on the GFS. There's the Euro, and there's the Canadian. That'll be around the 20th. So we could face ourselves with some active weather when it comes to thunderstorms just after this cutoff low deal for early next week. Lots to track, but not exactly a lot of snow.